Hey, horror fans. So now, at long last, we finally come to my favorite, favorite Christmas horror movie 1984's Silent Night, Deadly Night. And yeah, this is a slipcover because this was a special edition I bought like 9 years ago when I was still in high school. It had this stupid cover with all these ads of how it's uncensored. I thought that looked really stupid, and I'm a huge fan of just that original, simple cover. I love that so much. I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I was looking through the VHS cabinet at my parents' house, and I found this. Oh, it didn't have the cover, it was just the VHS. It was like Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's got to be a horror movie. So I popped it in, watched it, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. I had never really seen a slasher film that that just full on. Like, to me, this is more horror, like classic tropes of horror, than say something like a slasher film like Halloween, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, this was a fucked up movie when I first saw it. And then for years I wanted it on DVD, couldn't find it because for a while, every time this movie came out in some way, it would go out of print in like no time. I actually got this off of eBay back in 2010. Now, of course, there's a Scream Factory version. But I mean, it was usually included on like multi-packs of the series. And let's see, it was directed by Charles E. Sellier Jr., produced by Ira Richard Barmack, written by Michael Hickey. Not really anyone I know of is in this movie. Introducing Robert Brian Wilson as Billy. Introducing, I'd never seen anything else with him in it. And yeah, it's a killer Santa. But this movie, I think, utilizes the idea of Santa more so than Don't Open Till Christmas or To All a Good Night or any movie like that. Because the whole naughty or nice, or even Christmas Evil, because the whole naughty or nice thing plays a huge role in this. And now I know I have shit on films like the remakes to Black Christmas and Rob Zombie's Halloween for saying how we don't need a step-by-step reason as to why someone became a serial killer. I know I've said that. This movie does do just that. This movie shows us how young Billy, what twisted him up, what fucked him up so bad. Why is he afraid of Santa? Why does he become a killer Santa? But I think this movie does it well because with those movies, first of all, those are remakes of movies where the killer, either we don't know who the killer is or there's the embodiment of evil and it doesn't matter anyway. Here, though, I mean, it's the first story. Two, it's not told in like flashback or anything like that. And if you're first seeing this movie, you might not even know that Billy becomes the killer. You might just think, oh, now he's terrified of Santa. Maybe a Santa's going to come after him. But most of all, you sympathize with him. That's one thing this movie does well, is when you're watching the shit that Billy went through in his life, you sympathize with him. You can kind of tell, like, yeah, I can see why that messed him up. I have my problems with it, too. I mean, 18 years old, came from a Catholic orphanage, and still no one told him that there's no Santa Claus. Just small holes. But anyway. And also, this movie is very sleazy, very, they say sex and nudity is one of the biggest tropes of slasher films. Well, this is as gratuitous as it gets. Right from the very beginning, actually, even before I get into the story, another thing about this is, of course, you had, slasher films. Slasher films were always attacked. Whether it be by critics or parents or, video nasties. Usually, if anything did happen, it didn't last for long. This movie, though, this was released in November of 1984. And because of the ads on TV showing a killer Santa, because of this image in the newspapers, there was a Mothers Against group. I think it was a Mothers in Milwaukee, I think is who it was. They spoke out against it, and they protested this movie because, they're just mothers. You have to understand that they can't just tell their kids the difference between reality and fiction, and that this isn't the real Santa Claus, and, be a parent. We can't expect that of them. That's nonsense. So they sat there and they bitched about it, and this movie got pulled from theaters. They actually fucking succeeded. That's mind-blowing to me, that it actually happened. And so this movie only lasted like a week. It didn't really make any money. And, so it's always had this stigma of controversy around it. And I would say, if anything, just like anything else that you try to ban, it makes people more curious about it. And again, Silent Night, Deadly Night, my favorite Christmas horror movie. Probably my favorite Christmas movie. Well, actually, I don't know. Because I think overall, I still might say Nightmare Before Christmas. But definitely horror film is this. Right from the opening. Black screen. Well, and also, one more thing. This version that I have, it's supposedly completely uncut. So, and there's like a disclaimer before it plays, where, you'll get some like a restored film, but then you'll get like a scene of like gritty VHS quality because they didn't restore what they put back in there. But I didn't notice anything different. I mean, it all looked exactly like what was on the VHS that I grew up with. I love that font too. So anyway, starts off with one of my favorite title cards of any slasher film. Just a black screen, a little tiny Christmas wreath, just like comes up to the screen with that old English, storybook font of Silent Night. A little girl's voice singing the Santa's Watching, Santa's Waiting song. Then all of a sudden you just get like that big sound, like someone just laid on like a organ, kind of with like cartoony blood hitting the screen and going down, and it says Deadly Night. And you get this great piano score that's really eerie and creepy. Then we open up December 1971. 5-year-old Billy Chapman is with his parents, his infant brother Ricky. They're going to visit Grandpa, who is in a mental hospital. He's catatonic. But Billy gets left alone with Grandpa, and Grandpa wakes up and he tells him in a very creepy scene, well done. Grandpa's played by Will Hare. Tells him that Christmas Eve's the scariest damn night of the year, and Santa only brings presents to good kids, but naughty ones he punishes. And then there's just the way the grandpa does it. You know, he's like holding back tears. You can tell he's crazy. But when he asks him if Billy's been good, just the music is just so ominous. And the grandpa has this way of just like, what about you, boy? You been good? Just so fucking creepy how he does it. So of course now Billy's terrified of Santa. Meanwhile, there's this guy going around dressed as Santa. I think his name's Charles Dietrich, I think is the name of the actor. Charles Deercott. Okay. And he's, you know, we see him holding up a liquor store. And good effects. I mean, this movie does have great special effects by... I gotta look that up, too. I did make a mental note of it when I saw it, but then I did something, I forgot about it. Distributed by TriStar. Pretty sure they went under. But anyway, while I'm doing this, he shoots the store clerk and, you know, shoots him a couple times, like, in the head. And then he leaves the store and he's like, $31. Merry fucking Christmas. Why is it guys in the 70s and 80s, when they hold up a store, they always have a muscle car? So I'm starting to think he's not on hard times. He's just killing because he likes it. But of course, the Chapmans are going down the road. A dark back road. See Santa. Santa shoots the dad, attempts to rape the mom. When I say attempt, I mean like he rips her shirt open and she slaps him, but then he slaps her and slits her throat. Billy's hiding in the bushes. And I mean, just the way the music is, it's just very... It mixed between like piano and like really like low sounds of wind. If you've seen it, you might know what I mean. Full cast and crew, you slow piece of ass. Art direction, makeup department. Special makeup artist Carl Wesson and uncredited Richard N. McGuire. Carl Wesson has also done Thelma and Louise. Okay. So, and Dumb and Dumber. Oh, for like makeup. Okay. Well, they really told us what we needed to know. And I like the shots that we see with the Santa, because he has the switchblade. And we get this shot like really up close of like his Santa hand with his Santa glove picking up the bloody switchblade. And it's nighttime, but the back is so pure pitch black. Which I know a lot of movies, it's easy to get like just black night. And also the end of that scene ends with like a Christmassy song with a bunch of different shots of like the dad, the mom, different shots of the woods, like with the headlights hitting the trees, then it just gets darker and darker. sort of like the end little montage of Halloween where it shows us all the places we've been. So then we jump to December 1974, 3 years later. Billy's 8 years old, but he's still traumatized. He's at this St. Mary's Catholic orphanage run by the tyrannical Mother Superior. And this movie is about a killer Santa, but I think the true villain of this movie is Mother Superior, played by Lillian Coven. And I mean, she just lives by the notion, the motto of punishment is absolute, punishment is necessary. Now, Sister Margaret understands Billy's seen some shit. And, he misbehaves because, he has nightmares, he's traumatized. Sister Margaret tries to get him involved in stuff, but Mother Superior sees it as him disobeying. So, I mean, he gets whipped with a belt, he gets, tied to his bed. There's one scene where he hears this one teen couple having sex, so he, peeps through at them. But as he's getting flashes of, what happened to his mom. He gets punished for that. And one of the scariest parts of the movie is actually when Mother Superior tries to make him sit on Santa's lap, and he punches Santa. He runs up to his room and he cowers in the corner, and we just hear her footsteps. And we hear her go, "William." And then, with the really depressingly creepy piano score over it, it just freeze frames over his terrified face. Because the pacing of this film is, okay, we get that opening. And then between him at 8 years old and then him at 18, the main events of the film before Killer Santa, it's about 40-45 minutes. And I used to think, it was very, very, very slow. But, I would say it does do a good job at building this character. And instead of just going full bore, trying to be fucked up, like Rob Zombie's Halloween or 2006 Black Christmas, it does a good job at what would really psychologically damage a kid. So now he's 18, played by Robert Brian Wilson. 3 actors play Billy, none of which look remotely close to each other. He's like a big, a muscular kind of kid. Gets a job at a toy store. Things go well, but then for Christmas, his boss has him dress up as Santa for the kids. And I kind of laughed during this scene, because I can only imagine if this shit happened today. Which, I do think it's funny. I mean, a Catholic orphanage, 18 years, at no point did anyone, even the nuns, tell him there's no such thing as Santa. You can kind of get over it. Oh well. So, he has this little girl on his lap, and she's, writhing and fighting, and he's whispering to her to tell her to stop it. And the moms are just sitting there oh, he's so great with kids. But he's whispering to her I don't bring toys to naughty children. I punish them severely. I want to punish you. And she obviously looks terrified, but the moms think he's doing great with kids. And I'm just can you imagine if this shit happened today? That would be hilarious. I would love to see that. Then they have the Christmas party, and he tries alcohol for the first time, and the boss, Mr. Sims, says some shit oh, you're gonna think you are Santa. Oh, come on, you better get started. You know what Santa does. And he's 18, and he still thinks Santa's real and goes around punishing people. At this point, one of his co-workers, this short little Italian guy, is attempting to rape a pretty co-worker that Billy has a thing for. Because we even get like this long, like erotic dream he has where he even begs for forgiveness and no punishment from a dream. Which also I wanted to say, when he's watching the teens have sex in the orphanage, I like the juxtaposition of when it shows them, it's like this slow, erotic, passionate music, but then it's intercut with Mother Superior walking down the hall towards them with the really creepy, like, church organ kind of dun 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 dun. I like that. And as his co-worker is trying to rape the other co-worker, that's when, you know, the death of his parents is really kind of coming back to him in flashes, and you get like this strobe flash effect, and then he snaps. And that's when, finally, around 45, 50 minutes, that's when he, well, probably not that long into it. I'd probably say 40, 45. Because the movie's 85 minutes long, and you do get a good body count. I mean, he kills people in the store. Great special effects. I mean, his boss gets the claw of a hammer to his head. We see the aftermath. He does it off screen, but we see the blood spatter. The older woman that works at the store was actually one of the EMTs from the beginning of Halloween 4. And then from here on out, it's like he just goes to random places. His first up is this house with this couple, another teen couple trying to have sex. The female of which is Linnea Quigley, the topless scream queen of the 80s. I mean, Splatter University, Don't Go Near the Park, Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Demons. The really, like the slime ball, bikini girl, chainsaw massacre, hooker stuff that she did. She says she has to go let the cat in. Now, we have Christmas carolers across the street. She goes to let the cat in. The door is wide open, and she's just standing there fully topless, trying to call the cat. He comes in, and you get one of the best deaths, I would say, of 80s slasher films. He picks her up, and he just, like, pushes her against the antlers of this mounted deer head on the wall. It starts off, we see it in a silhouette on the wall, and then we see, like, the antlers kind of poking through her stomach, and then they just rip through, and it looks great. But through all that, you know, shit going on, all that screaming, the boyfriend doesn't hear downstairs, and the young sister or girl that's being babysat doesn't hear anything. Kills the boyfriend. And I always thought this scene was creepy at first. And you can tell they're going for some sort of tension. This young girl, probably 5 or 6, walks up to him. And he's asking her, like, have you been good or have you been naughty? And, of course, he's saying good. And he keeps asking, like, are you sure? We see him pull out this box cutter that he killed the almost raped coworker with. Which I used to work at Walmart. Box cutters don't come out that deep. So when it shows him going like that to her, I mean, still a great effect. So is this very slow build-up, like, is he going to kill her with that box cutter? But he gives it to her as a gift. But she doesn't say thank you. That should have been a charge for naughty. And then he ends up out in the woods. There are these 2 kids who are going to go sledding. These older kids who are bullies. They steal their sleds, make them run off. The first bully goes down. He's fine. The second one goes down and gets beheaded with the axe. I guess the other bully doesn't get killed. I love his reaction, by the way. Like, I love that shot of just the headless body. You know, it feels like natural lighting out in the dark woods. You just see this limp body sledding. And I mean, the stump looks great. And the head rolls down the hill. I love that kill. And then, you know, towards the end of the movie, it's the race against, you know, the police. And you get, like, the long scene because they think Billy's going to go back to the orphanage for Mother Superior. Which he does. But until then, first this one cop sees the Santa walking towards the kids, shoots him, but he didn't know it was the father of the orphanage playing Santa. But that same cop is doing his rounds, and you get more of some of my favorite shots from slasher films. There's like this shed that goes down to a cellar. He goes down, he checks it out. He comes up, and that's when Billy, sort of like Jack Nicholson from The Shining, comes up and gets him in the stomach with the axe. But you get this excellent shot. It's like POV of the cop as he falls down the stairs. But then the camera does this great thing, like, okay, so Billy's here, like, looking down the stairwell to the cellar, but the camera comes in straight. Then when it hits Billy, it kind of just like goes like this. So it's like we go in, we go up, and then we just look straight down the stairs at that dead cop with the axe in him. Love it. Shot after that, we see the snowman, and we just see this axe, like the head of an axe come in, blood dripping down it, then just turns sideways and cuts the head off the snowman. Love that shot. And then, of course, he gets let in the orphanage by one of the kids. He's going to kill a Mother Superior. The cop with Sister Margaret come in, shoot him in time. The axe lands at little Ricky, his brother Ricky's feet. And it ends with him saying naughty. And it ends again with the crazy music and, you know, Christmas wreath, Silent Night, Deadly Night. I love this movie to death. I really do. This is a movie where I actually like where it shows us what happened to the killer. It's sort of like Maniac in the sense that it is certainly a slasher film, but we followed the killer as the protagonist. He almost is a protagonist because he is, you know, a victim turned killer. I don't think of this like Rob Zombie's Halloween or the remake of Black Christmas where it's unneeded backstory. Nor do I think we're getting into the mind of a killer. It's like, you know, the psychology of the mind. Like, I don't think I'm watching ID when I'm watching this. I just think it's interesting. The effects are great. It's not overly gory, but it is plenty bloody, and it is on par with like the Tom Savini stuff at the time. The whole killer Santa aspect. I mean, you have a guy who I guess kind of thinks he's Santa, not to the level of Christmas Evil, but, you know, psychotic break he thinks he is, and he plays on the whole, you know, good and naughty aspect of Santa. This is the best, in my opinion, my favorite Christmas horror film. And it is one of my favorite slasher films. Aside from all the obvious slashers, like the big franchise ones, or, you know, ones like Maniac, The Burning, My Bloody Valentine, this would be my favorite. In fact, it was in one of my top 10s as my favorite slasher. I think it was the underrated ones. Even though this did spawn a franchise, I mean, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 I don't like. Half of it is footage from this. The other half is Ricky as the killer. And it's like a Troll 2, silly, so bad, it's shitty, but culty. People like it. From then on, it just gets shittier and shittier. In fact, actor Mickey Rooney, one of the people that fought against this movie, stars in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. And next, I'm going to be doing the loose remake Silent Night, which I'm not fucking excited for. I saw it back in 2012, and I fucking hated it. Stephen C. Miller, again. But anyway, I'm at a half hour. I don't know how much time I'm going to have left, and I don't want to do this over again. I fucking love this movie to death. I don't even think I talked enough about it into justice that I think it deserves. All of Ho Ho Horror has been adding up to this movie for me. I watch this every Christmas Eve. The cover, the name, the music, the effects, the story. This is my kind of Christmas horror movie. My favorite one. Fucking love this movie. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Thank you for watching.